Okay, so my first attempt at creating this video, I reached my screen time limit for today, so I had to change that. So I want you guys to get out a blank piece of paper and a pen, and we're gonna concept map out how certain factors or agents cause cancer. So if you need to go pause this animation because you gotta go get a pen and an online piece of paper, go ahead and do so. Okay, so I already started this concept map because I tried to film this video once already. So we saw in our news alert videos that there are certain agents or factors that are associated with cancer. So you can hold your paper, I don't know, is this portrait? And then you don't need to draw the box. I just drew the box so I can make this on my camera or my video phone here. So we know that ultraviolet radiation, x-rays, and tar, like in chimney dust, causes cancer because we've seen a higher incidence of cancer in people of certain occupations. Like x-ray technicians were prone to getting cancer, chimney sweeps, and we know that people that expose themselves to ultraviolet radiation in the sun also are more likely to develop cancer. So this is what science is. Science makes an observation and then explains that observation. So our observation is that people get cancer, and so we're going to explain how and why people get cancer. What is actually happening to our cells that results in cancer? So that's what we do in science. We create explanations for what we see. Okay, so these agents, what do they do? These agents cause mutations. Sorry, I'm writing so small, but I want to get this all in. Okay, they cause mutations. Factors or agents that cause mutations are called mutagens. This is an agent or a factor that causes cancer or causes mutation. So ultraviolet rays, x-rays, and tar are all considered to be mutagens because they cause mutations. So I'm just gonna link that back down to mutations, cause with an arrow. Okay, so what is getting, okay, so I guess we should define what a mutation is. So mutations are changes in DNA. And mutations aren't necessarily bad. They can be bad, they can be harmful, or they can be beneficial, but mutations aren't necessarily always harmful, although when we hear that word mutation, we tend to think that it has a negative connotation. Okay, so what is getting mutated? Well, genes get mutated. Mutations in arrow genes. So genes get mutated. And remember, genes are sequences of nucleotides that code for a certain protein. They're the recipe for building proteins. Okay, now the mutations are occurring in specific types of genes. And like it's not hemoglobin that's getting mutated that's causing cancer. It's not DNA polymerase, well, I guess it could be DNA polymerase. Let me think of an example. It's not the chloride transporter in your lung cells, or it's not an antibody that's getting mutated. But the mutation occurs in genes such as, we're going to branch that into two. I'm going to abbreviate here. You can write it all out. As in proto-oncogenes or tumor suppressor genes. Remember, those are two classes of genes. And when there are mutations in those genes, that disrupts the cell cycle. So the cell is not going through the cell cycle at the proper pace, and that leads to uncontrolled cell division. Uncontrolled cell division. I'm going to put that in a bubble. And we know that uncontrolled cell division cancer. Okay, so we've now, by using the information in here that we've learned through the news alert videos and the information, and I forget what section in your book, we've now created an explanation. There are certain agents like X-rays that cause mutations in the genes, such as proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. These are genes that control the cell cycle. So when these are disrupted by mutations, that leads to uncontrolled cell division, and that is the reason that you would get cancer. Now, we also know that people get cancer not because they've exposed themselves to any of those mutagens, but some of these mutations, some are inherited, right? Some are inherited, and we can do an example such as retinoblastoma, which that child had in, well, they didn't show the child, retinoblastoma. There's another one such as some types of breast cancer. The mutations are inherited. Some types of lung cancer, but there are leukemia. Some types of cancer are inherited. Okay, so I think that concept maps out our explanation for how and why these factors lead to cancer. They are causing mutations in the genes that regulate the cell cycle. Those genes, two classes of genes, are proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. So those normally control the cell cycle. When the cell cycle is disrupted because the proteins that these genes code for aren't working properly, you get uncontrolled cell division, and that is cancer. So I'm sorry we couldn't do this on software, but I'm trying to, while we're here on this little, not vacation, whatever you call this thing that we're going through, I'm going to try and get teach myself new software that's out now. So if you have any questions, send me an email or post a comment on Google Classroom. Okay, thanks, ladies.